Hi everybody, it's 1 o'clock Eastern. We're here for the Mentor webinar. My name is Mike Lasecki. I'm your host here at the Maricopa Community Colleges. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this, I guess it's a training event in a way. Let me tell you a little bit about the system that we're using today. It's called Adobe Connect. If you turn your eyes to the right on your screens, you'll see the presenters and the participants today. So all of us are logged in. You can see there's icons to the right of their names. For example, I'm looking at Ann Bahiler, and that means her phone is connected, but it's on mute. So she's listening, and later on, if she raises her hand, I'll be able to log her in or bring her into the conversation. I'll explain that more in a moment. So that's the presenter window. The chat window is always very useful. So as the presentation is going on, you have a comment or a question, you can toss it into the chat window. We've got several break points to talk about questions that you might have. Today it's a little bit different. There's a limited number of us. We'd like to give the opportunity to bring in your voices. For example, if you were to raise your hand, and you can see that icon, right? If you go to the upper left, there's that little guy right on your top bar there, not the ultra top bar. And he's got you can click on that thing to raise your hand. When I see your hand go up, I know that you'll have an opportunity or that you'd like to ask a question, so I'll call on you at that point. I'll remind you how this works a little bit later as we get into the presentation. So I'd like to welcome everyone today. I'd like to bring in our lead, Elaine Kraft. Elaine, you're going to talk to us about what's going on today and introduce your collaborators. Go ahead, Elaine.
Great, thanks, Mike, and hello, everybody. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon for this Mentor Orientation webinar. This is the first Mentor Orientation under the new Mentor Connect grant, and we have pared down to a core leadership team, and I want to make sure that you know who that team consists of. Also, it's important that everybody know the external evaluator for the project. And in the slide after that, I will share the roster of mentors for Cohort 4. On this slide, there is the principal investigator. It's my privilege to have that role. And my colleague, Dennis Faber. Dennis is based in Maryland, and he is a co-PI for the project. He brings to the project years of experience as an ATE Center Director and PI, as well as other NSF work. In addition, Dennis and I worked together on other mentoring projects for NSF before Mentor Connect was funded. Ellen Huss, whom we all know and love, works for the American Association of Community Colleges in Washington, D.C. Ellen is the person most directly responsible for the phenomenal success of the ATEPI conference each year and MentorLinks, both initiatives of the NSF ATE project for which she serves as PI and Director for AACC. Charlotte Forrest, who did an awesome job as Project Manager for the initial Mentor Connect project, is now serving as co-PI to help lead the project for the future. Charlotte is based at the South Carolina Center at Florence Darlington Technical College. We're very pleased to have Osa Brand serving as senior personnel for the project. Osa works for the National Council for Education in Washington, D.C. She has served as PI for two successful integrated geospatial education and technology training projects that have focused on faculty development with an emphasis on using remote with GIS. We're thrilled to have Osa continuing with us. She also worked with us on the first grant. Dave Hata, evaluator from InterConnect. Dave is applying a value creation model evaluation. As many of you know, Dave is an excellent artist and photographer. He enriches all of his work with wonderful photos, including the Mentor Connect evaluation. I hope that most of you saw the great photos from last January's workshop display at the Mentor Connect exhibit at the ATEPI conference. Dave is involved with all project activities and in the development of evaluation tools used to get feedback. You all know the importance of evaluation. It's essential to improving our work and documenting our outcomes for the ATE program. So please make it a priority to respond ask for feedback from Charlotte or Dave throughout the year. This time, for the first time, we have all veterans. We are delighted to welcome back Peggy Weeks and Marilyn Barger this year. We don't say often enough how honored we are to work with such a dedicated group within the ATE program who have chosen to give back in this special way. Osa Brand will wear a dual hat this year, serving as a mentor and senior personnel. One of her roles as senior personnel is to assist those that we call second chance teams, who were not successful with their first proposal submission. We feel that this special support is very important for newbies who, for one reason or another, are following a different path to success than others in their cohort who submitted proposals and got funded the first time. I also want to give a shout out to our other super-duper returning mentors, Vince Donato, Mel Cossette, Ann Behaler, Ann Johnson, Deborah Boisvert, Judy Kasabian, and Karen Wazina Birch, who did an outstanding job with Cohort 3 mentees and are returning for Cohort 4. Vince, Mel, Elaine, and Karen are returning for a fourth year of mentoring, which shows an exceptional commitment to the ATE program and the work of this project. So thank you all. Now I will ask Dennis to give you a project update. Dennis?
Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? I'm going to give you some background information, I guess, on the cohorts to date and some data that we've collected. If you notice that the applications have stayed relatively constant around that 30-plus mark, equally constant have been the submissions, and the actual awards have been pretty much consistent as well. I would like to point out that one of the things that we've noticed is that for folks who don't submit, there tend to be some internal issues, faculty issues, change of administration issues that are causing folks not to submit. So I would suggest to the mentors that that might be something that they would pay attention to early in the process and see if we can identify potential problems earlier than we have in the past. The number of states served, as we might have guessed, would be following the law of diminishing returns. These are new states that we've added each year, and I suspect that that will continue to either stay around that 3 mark or continue to go down. We might have to look at some different metrics to figure out how to display or to share with the ATE folks the impact that we're having in terms of the states being served. And this grant cycle project vision and scope remains pretty much the same as it has in the past. We will focus on mentoring and technical assistance. We will especially focus on the ATE small grants component. We are, in this third bullet, hitting an additional increasing need for new awardees who are seeking help, and we're going to have to figure out how to address that, working on that at this juncture in the grant about how we can extend some assistance to these folks. Also likely is, as that need increases, we may need to think about adding and training new mentors, and we're working both on increasing the numbers and providing some training for new mentors. We would also ask you to consider if there's anybody on your staffs and your centers or projects that might be interested in, capable of assuming a mentorship role with us. We're going to continue to build the infrastructure and resources that we have, and 2 new pieces, or maybe more focus on these pieces, would be the leadership component, the faculty leadership development. We'll spend a little bit more time reaching out to previous cohort participants and exploring some ways to help develop their faculty leadership skills. And there is a research component that we've built into this grant cycle to see if we can better define and present the impact that we think we're having. So that's where we're at for the new grant cycle. I'd like to turn it over to Ellen to talk a little bit about mentor roles and expectations.
Thanks, Dennis, and thanks to all of you for continuing on this journey with us and again agreeing to serve as mentors. We're really excited about this new cohort. And we know that you're all seasoned pros when it comes to mentoring, but we did want to just take this opportunity to provide a quick refresher on the overall mentor roles and responsibilities, and then dive a little bit into the details about the January workshop, some homework assignments, and some other items. So we know you're aware your primary responsibility why don't I advance a slide, though, is to provide leadership, technical assistance, and guidance to teams from 2 community colleges to assist them in preparing a proposal for those new to ATE. You'll be expected to participate in the January workshop this year, January 27 through 29 in New Orleans. Whereas in the past you'll be meeting and working with your 2 mentee teams. And Elaine and Charlotte will go over in detail your specific responsibilities at the meeting, but I just wanted to make you aware as you start to think about preparing for January that you could potentially be taking on a team with up to 4 members from each mentee college. So Mentor Connect is allowing the colleges to bring up to a team of 4 people to the January workshop. So this would be consisting of the 2 STEM faculty members, a grant writer or SRO, and a supportive administrator. And I believe some of you have tackled some of these larger teams in the past, so there's an opportunity to share guidance with your fellow mentors on how best to manage and coordinate that. But we just wanted to make you aware this is all good, that we have this interest in bringing administrators. Administrators want to come, so we decided for this year's cohort we would actually open it up and allow that formally a 4th spot for a team member to attend from a participating college. Following the workshop, you're expected to provide mentoring support for your mentees through that October 2016 submission date. As you're aware, you'll be working with them to provide feedback on the grant proposal topics and the proposal components, helping them refine their ideas, providing referrals to ATE resources and our growing database of Mentor Connect resources, and working with them to ensure their proposals meet NSF and ATE requirements. And we're obviously working with you and updating resources and assisting you in those efforts. Communication, you should be discussing with your mentees the best course for establishing a communication plan following the January workshop. You want to ensure regular communication. We can share communication strategies. We do suggest monthly phone calls and email correspondence, and that you initiate contact following the meeting, and the meeting be the January workshop. And we'll also be rolling out timelines and measures to help with assisting the colleges to continue their momentum. Mentor Connect will again this year host technical assistance webinars on budgeting forms and evaluation focused on small grants. Charlotte will apprise you of those dates. And we continue to ask that you participate on these webinars as a way to not only be kept up to date, but to touch base with your mentees and use these as checkpoints to help them again in their timelines and their action plans. As in previous year, we'll be asking you to help us meet our reporting and evaluation requirements, so completing progress check report forms and some other feedback. And thank you again for the feedback and the guidance that you've provided to us thus far, and most recently through the mentor team interviews. We really do utilize your feedback. You're the ones on the ground with the teams on ways that we can improve the program, the resources, and our processes. We're pleased that written into our new grant is the high-tech meeting. So once again, we will expect that you attend a one-day Mentor Connect meeting at the front end of high-tech, which I believe will be July 26th. I think high-tech starts the 25th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So we're pleased to have that opportunity again, and we'll be working to continue and strengthen that meeting and that offering for our mentees. Mentor Connect resources, Charlotte's done an amazing job amassing and cataloging all these resources. We know that you're aware of them and you're using them, so we ask you to continue to access them and to share information about the Mentor Connect opportunity with colleges that are not only interested in applying, but those colleges that can utilize these resources even if they're not a part of a formal cohort. And again, we continually seek and welcome your feedback on the resources we've developed for the program, particularly as we really work to strengthen and expand our offerings for this new grant scope. And most importantly, we ask that you alert us to any issues or needs that arise with your mentees along the way. We're here to help. I'm sure you know Charlotte does a tremendous job of stepping in and intervening, but we do want to know what's going on with the colleges so we can best assist you in helping to keep them on track. And finally, I think you know all of this, but it bears repeating that even though you are individually mentoring two college teams, that we function as a mentor team, and we want to give you that opportunity to offer guidance and share strategies with one another. We're actually, as Mike indicated, we're opening up this call at the end where we can actually hear from one another over the phone, and we'll be offering that opportunity to engage as a team at the start of the January workshop. So this, again, was just kind of a general overview, refresher on mentor roles and responsibilities. And now I wanted to turn it over to Elaine to provide some more detail. Elaine, we can't hear you. I don't know if you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Again this year, we will be sending out a homework assignment to cohort members in preparation for the January workshop. While some colleges included data about job demand in the interest statement part of their MentorConnect application, the information tended to reflect national rather than local data and included no data about the programs being targeted for their project idea. MentorConnect homework questions are designed to stimulate teams to investigate and fully understand their local or regional industry needs, as well as their own program history and challenges. To prepare a competitive proposal, they will need a compelling rationale for why the project is needed. We hope that you will use this assignment as a tool for asking questions and encouraging your mentee teams to do the necessary research and reflect on what the data means so that they are equipped to make a strong case for the project they want to propose. Teams are being instructed to complete this homework assignment and to share their completed work with you by January the 15th in advance of the workshop. When you make initial contact with your mentee, you should arrange a time to discuss the homework assignment. This will give you something beyond introductions upon which to base your conversation. We anticipate that some teams will not fully complete the assignment prior to the workshop or may struggle to find the data to answer the questions. Others may provide extensive answers to every question. Either way, let them know that this is all part of the discovery process that leads to better proposals. More important than the data is paying attention to what the data means. For example, if there is no local or regional demand for technicians in a particular field of technology, it will be tough to make a case for money to address the need that doesn't exist. You will be able to help them understand what is most critical to know for the project that they have in mind. Obviously, different project and different project ideas will need to be supported by different information and statements of need. And some may need information that isn't included in the homework assignment. It's not designed to be exhaustive. Please consider this assignment as a guiding tool. We know that not every question is equally applicable to all project ideas. The homework exercise should help the mentee teams choose between possible alternate pathways and plans. I'm always amazed at what faculty don't know about their programs. Enrollment trends, area employers, and industry demand for technicians in their college service area. Those teaching math or science will likely have the least exposure and access to this information. The research and discovery process provides an opportunity for the team to initiate conversations that can lead to new collaborations within their institution. We hope that this tool will be helpful in directing each project towards an area of documented need. Now let's talk about some of the details relevant to your service as a mentor. First of all, let's talk about the detail of time and effort. Mentors are not expected to keep timesheets, but we do ask that you keep some record of the time you spent with mentoring activities. We set a 36-hour mentoring expectation as a guideline to ensure that mentees get enough of your time to really be of help, but also as a way of protecting your time from unreasonable expectations for help. We know that many of you far exceed this guideline, but use it to set boundaries if you feel that you need to do so. Newbies can be very needy. There is a list of expectations for your involvement as a mentor that we share when you sign up and again when you request your stipend for mentoring work during the year. This list includes such things as participation in the January 2016 and July 2016 workshops, mentoring teams from 2 colleges through 2016 proposal submission, supporting evaluation efforts throughout the year, and attending webinars and meetings. The next detail is financial remuneration. The MentorConnect budget includes stipends for mentors of $2,000 per mentored team or $4,000 for the year, and the 2 teams that mentors are assigned. If assignments get shifted during the year, these amounts may be adjusted accordingly. Prior to payments being made, mentors are asked to sign an affidavit verifying participation. Payment is made after the proposal submission deadline in the fall. For example, in the past couple of weeks, invoices have been processed for stipends related to Cohort 3 work. In addition, travel reimbursement is provided to support your participation in project gatherings. All mentors are provided travel support for the January workshop. After that, we leverage the fact that many of you already attend High-Tech Conference and the ATEPI Conference. We support the added expense of your MentorConnect participation as needed. Please note, however, that MentorConnect travel reimbursement no longer includes reimbursement for meals. Instructions are clear on the travel reimbursement forms the project provides, but do let us know if you have any questions. Almost everyone agrees that site visits to mentees would be very valuable. However, we were not able to include travel funds for site visits for mentors in the MentorConnect budget. For those of you who are able to arrange to meet in person with their mentee teams using other funds, we encourage you to do so. If it is within the scope of work of your NSF ATE project or center to visit other colleges, you may have travel funds available to support your visit to your mentee colleges or for them to visit you. It's a great activity. We just can't afford it. So I hope some of you will be able to work that out on your own. Now to talk about some pro bono options. Although we budgeted to provide financial support for the more extensive mentoring that is being provided to potential grantees through MentorConnect, the ATE program does have expectations that each of us give back and help others. Some of you have mentoring specifically outlined in your center's scope of work. If the work you do for MentorConnect helps you fulfill the goals of your funded project or center, then you may consider additional financial support unnecessary. Over time, some mentors have not requested a stipend, and they also paid all their travel costs from their funded project or center. Others have requested travel support, not a stipend. When a mentor does all or part of this work pro bono, the project applies the extra funds that this results in for us to expand mentoring services to serve more prospective and new grantees. And just as an example, last year we actually had 21 colleges participate, and we engaged the services of an additional mentor to handle the extra team. This wouldn't have been possible if we had not had mentors who did some pro bono work in the first 3 years of the project. Each of you will need to consider whether or not you can do this work pro bono, or if you will request the travel support and or stipend that is offered by MentorConnect. We understand that there are mentors who would not be able to do this work without the financial support MentorConnect can provide, and we certainly are willing to pay it. So just give that some thought, and you'll be given an opportunity to choose. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Dennis, and he's going to talk a little bit about the mentee expectations. I think Dennis and I are both switching the slides. Dennis, you take it over.
Hi, just a quick review for everybody on what we're expecting of the mentees. Pretty much the same as we have in the past. Review of the NSF solicitation, particularly the small grant sections. And as Celeste is wont to say, and review it and reread it and reread it and so on. Folks, the MentorConnect applicants have already completed a readiness assessment. We're expecting them to attend the January and the high-tech workshops. Their responsibility is to conceptualize the grant, prepare their proposal, and secure administrative buy-in. We think the next to the last item of initiating and maintaining regular communication with you is very important. We find that that probably is the key to making sure that everything gets done in a timely fashion. And we've also asked, in addition to submitting the proposal, we've asked them to submit some drafts of some work at various points in time. We had a preliminary and a secondary requirement to send us a copy of and send you a copy of their proposal as it was taking shape. We found that to be very helpful, and we'll probably continue that again this year. In fact, I know we will continue that this year. I would note that just for everybody's awareness, there have been changes to the GPG guide. I don't think they affect too much of what's going on with proposal preparation, but you all may want to take a look at that guide and note the changes. And we also had a new submission process started last year. It did not seem to create too many problems for folks, but the formatting for getting a proposal in certainly did change last year. As we look at cohort 4 for this coming cycle, we received 34 applications. 20 colleges were accepted, and they've been notified by email. A more interesting process this time occurred when, thanks to Maryland, we were alerted that one of the colleges might not be appropriate for the program, even though their application was rated highly. They do not offer degree-bearing programs, and that wasn't made clear in the application. So thanks to Maryland for notifying us of that. We have talked with that particular college and actually disinvited them from participation and added the next college up team to the cohort. There will be MentorLinks colleges involved. There are 2 of them, but not from the immediate past. These are MentorLink colleges that participated in the MentorLinks program from about 4 or 5 years ago. So you might be sensitive to that as you talk with your team members. One of the teams was not initially accepted, and that college has reapplied and been accepted this year. And we're pleased to welcome them back as well. So that's kind of a quick update. We'll share the list with you in a few minutes and address any questions you may have about that. At this time, I'd like to turn it back to Ellen to talk a little bit about what's going on at the workshop.
It actually goes to Elaine.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Back to Elaine.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about the mentor role. At the January workshop, the first session with your mentees at the January workshop should focus on the pre-workshop homework assignment. Mentors should methodically go through the homework assignment again with each team, even if you talked about it on the phone with them prior to going. They may have gotten some additional information for you by the time of the workshop, to discern whether or not the team has a strong rationale for the project they wish to develop. If the project isn't supported by the data, and then work with the team to reframe the project and address what they have learned about their programs and technician education needs in their area. The next big assignment at the workshop is for each team to rewrite the statement of interest from the application that the college submitted into a desired outcome statement for their project. The mentor's role is to provide feedback and guidance for this refinement process. This desired outcome statement will serve as the team's elevator speech for sharing during the workshop and for selling their project plan back home. Knowing the desired outcomes for the project is also, as you know, a building block for creating a logic model for the project. And we have started last year emphasizing a little bit more the use of logic models as an organizing tool. Remind your mentees to start with the end in mind. What will success look like at the conclusion of their project? What activities and resources are needed to achieve success? A timeline template for proposal development will be provided at the workshop. We each have our own style and methods for proposal preparation, and the template we provide from MentorConnect may be tweaked as needed to meet individual college and or grant writer preferences. The main thing is to have a schedule and stick to it, setting milestones for completing various components of the proposal. It is very important that each team develop an action plan for proposal development also. The action plan includes a task list with assigned responsibilities. A template is also provided for developing an action plan. To work effectively with your mentee teams, you will need to have a clear plan for communication. Ellen mentioned this, Dennis mentioned this, and I'm mentioning this. Communication. You know, you're veterans at doing this. That one of the greatest challenges for any mentor is connecting with your teams on a regular basis. This challenge can often be addressed by having a clear communication plan that includes commitments by both the mentor and the mentees to meet regularly and on a set schedule. At the workshop and beyond, your job is to guide your team's work to develop a very clear statement that addresses the fundamental proposal development questions. As previously mentioned, another challenge is appropriate project scope, reining in the big ideas to something reasonable for a small grant. It is very common for the vision of a first project to be way too big. Also, faculty don't always understand the impact of personnel and indirect costs on their budget. These expenses can drastically reduce the amount of funds that are available to purchase necessary supplies or equipment or to conduct activities during the project. So, to recap, the desired outcome for the workshop is a refined and clearly articulated project statement that will be their elevator speech, and a work plan so that they know who's going to do what and when they leave, and a mentor-mentee communication plan for moving forward following the workshop. Now, at the workshop, you'll have some responsibilities. Each mentor will be asked, in addition to working with his or her mentee teams, to do a couple of other things. These are assignments that will require very little advanced preparation on your part. Some of you will be asked to facilitate a faculty panel during the mock panel review process. We may call on some of you for words of wisdom, using your input as a teachable moment to strengthen some point that we're trying to make. Some may assist with the grant writer track to answer questions and help grant writers and administrators understand ATE and how to support their faculty teams during the proposal development process. We will conduct a survey to see who wants to do what. Be sure to respond promptly, and we will do our best to match you with your interests. What we've learned is that mentors should be somewhat directive at the beginning of the process to make sure that teams get started off right. Contact them. Don't wait for them to contact you. When mentoring, keep reminding your mentees of the goals of the ATE program and the strong emphasis on technician education. All teams need help early on with focusing their project and articulating their vision. Initial project ideas almost always start out too big, as I mentioned. So helping the team drill down and focus on what the first steps should be as they work toward achieving a broader vision over time is usually the best strategy. As teams become more knowledgeable in the months to follow, the mentor's role can shift to providing feedback and linking them to resources in the ATE community or elsewhere. In the beginning, though, think of yourselves more as taskmasters. Intervention early and often has proven to be a strategy that pays off. Some of you have discovered that becoming a taskmaster at the end can also be important to help ensure that the proposal actually gets submitted. No doubt you can all tell war stories of 11th hour angst and crisis with a team that you're mentoring. Be diligent in pointing out the last-minute pitfalls that can be avoided if they stay focused and get their information into fast lane early. Continue to point out that ATE projects typically address challenges, and strong proposals clearly articulate how identified challenges will be addressed. As the mentoring activity progresses through the spring, you will want to stimulate your teams to clearly articulate what they will do, why they will do it, what will be different as a result of doing it, and how they will know whether or not what they did made a difference. Once these initial questions have been answered, the remainder of the project description is largely about how the work will get done and who will do the work. This, too, is a very important part of a strong proposal. Liz Tellis reports that some proposals still devote too much time to talking about the college and the service area and too little about how they will accomplish stated goals. Details regarding activities, implementation, timelines, and specific responsibilities will make proposals stronger and also provide the level of detail required for creating a good budget. Now, I'm going to turn it over to Charlotte, and she's going to talk about our upcoming activities.
Thank you, Elaine. And so the next few slides, we want to take just a few minutes to drill down on some of the specifics as we move into the new year. So the 2016 Mentor Connect Outreach and Technical Assistance, or what we now call the Winter Workshop, programming will run from Wednesday, January 27th through Friday, January 29th. However, we do expect that each of you arrive Tuesday, January 26th by the evening with a plan to stay until the end on the 29th. The Mentor Connect project team will meet with mentors early on Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. where we will cover topics such as going over the agenda. There will be quite a few changes this year in terms of structure because, as you know, with additional people, there will call a change in format this year. So we will talk about that. We will talk about the mock panel reviews and go over some of the proposals for that. The grant writer administrator track, any changes there, we will dive down and talk about those. Expectations, answer any of your questions for the workshop. And then lastly, your assignments for the workshop while we are at the meeting in more detail than what we presented today. As you can see, it should be a fun time in the historic town of New Orleans this year. For approximately 9 months after the workshop, as we've talked about, we will birth the baby at the end. So from January to October, you can expect to have detailed time with your mentees. And then now, as a required event, we plan to have you join us for our summer technical assistance workshop, or our second in-person mentorship meeting that is held in conjunction with the High-Tech Conference. Support will be provided for any extra days that you are supporting the Mentor Connect project, and we do expect that that meeting will be held, as it has been in the past, the day before the conference activities begin. That meeting will be an 8 to 5 p.m. full-day meeting, and we look forward to bringing our full teams to that event. During the duration of the 9-month journey, there will be several resources available by request or online to the teams as well as you as mentors. We encourage each of you to reach out to team members with feedback or additional resources. For example, a couple of goals that we have for the start of the new year is to grow our collection, provide the sample proposals that are often sought after, find better ways to provide internal documents that support teams as they go through the awards process, such as the new performer packages. So with that in mind, we always look for your feedback, and if you'd like to contribute any resources, we also encourage that. But more importantly, there will be a series of 3 webinars in spring 2016. And the dates, you've heard them. They are also listed on the screen. Note the uniform time for all webinars and that the order has somewhat changed for this year. We know that we weren't able to provide all of the changes that were suggested this year in terms of time frame for the webinars. However, we are anticipating that in the future we can make those changes. So please attend with your mentees and get them excited about learning the grant proposal process through these webinars. Just a few notes on logistics as we move into the holiday season and to the new year, and then coming to the workshop at the end of January. You will be receiving, as mentors, a series of emails from me with workshop information, how to prepare, including instructions for registration and other pertinent information. In order to register, you will need to use the links that will be provided by email. If you have a couple minutes while I'm speaking here, I've embedded the links here as well. Takes just a few moments to get those preparations in order. Hotel reservations and travel arrangements, we ask that you begin making those travel arrangements early. By the end of this week, you will have all of the information that you need to start the process. That includes the procedures for reimbursement, any other forms associated, the link to reserve your hotel room at the Hotel Monteleone in New Orleans, Louisiana. And if you have any questions, always feel free to contact me directly. But a few notes. The maximum cap this year for mentor reimbursement will be up to $1,200 unless prior written authorization is approved by Elaine Craft to provide sums other than that. The hotel rate this year will be $189 plus a 14.75% tax. The hotel does require a credit card in advance when you make your reservations. However, you will not be charged until you're on site, and then you will be responsible for payment at the hotel, and we will reimburse post-travel dates. In order to receive travel support or reimbursement, mentors must stay at the designated hotel unless otherwise approved in writing by our principal investigator. So again, I'd like to emphasize that, you know, if you have questions, if you can't stay at the hotel, please let us know. But otherwise, we do expect for logistics and for socialization with the mentees that all of our mentors stay at the designated hotel. And I think this year you'll be very pleased. Also, another important note, it is vital that everyone plan to stay the duration of the workshop, as we have a full-scale agenda planned out, or will have planned out. And then we expect that everyone stay on Friday the 29th and don't plan to leave until after at least 1 p.m. So, with those logistics out of the way, now the fun part. We present the final Cohort 4 mentee colleges. The 2 colleges that you have been paired with are finalized here. We appreciate that when we send information out about any changes, conflicts of interest, that you, in a very quick turnaround, got back to us to let us know if there were issues. All detailed contact information will be available following this webinar. You will receive a contact directory for this cohort, and also a list similar to what you see on the screen, emphasizing who the pairs are, who's mentoring which teams, and where they're from. Please feel free to introduce yourself to your mentees and prep for meeting them at the workshop in January. They will likely reach out for assistance with the pre-workshop homework as assigned by MentorConnect. However, we want them to feel more than welcomed as they approach the workshop. We are thrilled to be working with these 20 colleges out of the 34 applications received in October. We have covered a significant amount of information today, but would like to now open the floor, kind of a second segment, to see what questions you might have and see what comments you might have. So at this time, we'd like to fall into a bit of dialogue with you, and Mike will give you a bit more instruction on that.
Thanks, Charlotte. So for those of you online, you've got a couple of options. You could use the chat window, or if you simply raise your hand, I'll connect your audio. I'll let you know that you're available to speak. So look at that, we have thousands of questions flooding in, Charlotte. I guess they're all overwhelmed with the information so far. How about you, Ann? Do you have any questions for the group? Ann, I've unmuted you, Ann Behealer. I just wondered if you might say hello. I just want to test the ability of you to talk to the system.
Sure. I had to figure out how to wake up my phone and get it off mute.
Well, there you are. We hear you. We hear you fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any questions at this point. I think it's all pretty clear.
Okay. Good. Good. I'm going to turn you back on to mute you again from here, Ann. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know, Charlotte, so far things are fine. I see that Peggy has commented that the information is good. I notice Elaine Johnson is typing something in. So let's wait to see what she has to say before we go ahead. Okay. I don't see anybody in particular that's raised their hand. So good, Elaine is excited about what's been presented today, Charlotte. Lois is typing in as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well,
we're pretty happy, Charlotte.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And of course, we all know how time is of essence, and we won't take up any more of your time today, but feel free, as we prepare for the workshop, please send any questions that you have, comments, suggestions, and we'd be glad to talk more about them. And if none of my colleagues have any additional notes to share with you, that concludes our webinar for this year.
Good. I'm sure everyone looks forward to this event in January. It should be a lot of fun. I just want to pass on a private message to Elaine Johnson that we're going to be reconnecting with you for that tech run a little bit later today. So good. Charlotte, Elaine, Dennis, Ellen, thank you very much for the time and effort today. Folks, I'll just leave the system up for a couple more minutes and then we'll shut down. So thanks, everyone.